because I got to log back into work.
I can't either. I have to sleep. I have to find rest. All right. Well, I'm live. We're recording. We can. Well, I guess we should make sure that it is actually. Yep, it's going.
It's live. Hold on. Let me send out the tweets.
Send out a tweet. You do what you do best.
Well, actually, I just did the Discords. Now I'm doing the tweets. Now I'm doing the retweets. Hey, look at that. Hero Forge Minis is actually a promoted tweet on my Twitter feed. It's almost like they know what they're doing.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording.
Godzilla's on my feed.
People can see my folder as I get ready to delete that fun little promotion we did for Hero Forge from the recording. There we go.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
It's fine. I just didn't want that to be the start of the show. Hey, did you know Hero Forge?
No. Okay, well, let me know when you're recording again. We'll promote D&D Beyond.
Just keep picking random things to promote as soon as we can. Let me tell you about Guinness beer. Ben, you never talk about Guinness beer, but I did because you hit the record button.
Okay. Are you ready?
Hi, chat room. How's it going? Is everything okay? We're gonna start regardless of what you tell us. All right. I'm gonna start the recording in 3, a 2, a 1.
Were you wanting me to start the show right?
I don't know. I was just letting you know that I started the recording and then everybody got quiet.
Okay. Okay. Ro, are you ready to start the show?
I'm ready to start the show.
Okay, John, are you ready to start the show?
I guess we'll find out.
That fills me with confidence.
What are you hiding from us, John?
Deep-seated exhaustion. It's not being hidden very well.
Oh. Well, all I can say to that is, welcome to Azeroth RoundTable, episode 322. My name is Ben Bumhofer. I'm coming at you with a whole bunch of excitement and loudness because I'm trying to wake up someone. With me, as always, this week is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hello, Ben! It's Friday night here in Azeroth, and I'm happy to be joining you at the round table. That's right, we are bringing in high energy, because we need to wake up our guest who's just been talking about nothing but how tired he is coming into the show. But I'm pretty sure that rousing greeting has pulled him from the depths below, from Queen Ajara's chambers themselves. We now have with us an awoken Ro. Ro, happy to wake you up here on Friday night. How you doing, man? Did that work? You feeling better?
What? Yeah. That was a riling, riveting. I'm awake.
Yeah.
You know, I took one look at Queen Ajara on the PTR. I suddenly got very sick, started vomiting and stuff, fell on the floor, fell asleep, and yeah, here I am.
Here you are.
Well, which eye did you look at her with?
The right eye.
As opposed to the wrong eye.
Mm.
Yes. Okay. So the middle eye.
The correct eye.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that could be your problem because I hear that people who didn't get rid of that buff are actually hearing voices now.
Yeah, it's accurate. I have a character that's hearing voices and a character that's not. I'm not going to reveal which one chose which.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be able to tell because I got rid of mine.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Choices have consequences.
A little club
Yes,
where
do.
we don't know who's serving who. Who on this show is serving the greater good? You know what, though? That'd be something that an evil old god worshipper would want us to think. I can't tell who's evil. I'm certainly good, he said, as he whispered to the old gods.
But the other people who were evil would know.
Would they know?
Not if we were both good.
Well, yeah, I'm saying I'm good. And I would know if I had the eye, I would know if you had it or not, so then I would know that you would be good if I didn't see it. But
what?
You have no way of knowing if I'm good or not because you wouldn't see my eye because you don't have one.
Who here thinks they're good? Raise your hand.
Oh, all three of us are good.
Uh-huh.
That was for the listening audience because if
That was good. That was good. That was good theater. It was natural till you called attention to it. Okay, so we all think we're good. So in other words, Ben, if you were an
Yes.
evil Ben, you could claim, I have no way of knowing I'm good. Even though deep down you're evil, and you know that you can play this off because you can't see the evil above us.
That's true. But that being said, you can't see the evil above me.
That's right.
Maybe
I
it's
can't.
because I'm wearing a hat. Maybe because it's just not there.
Or maybe we're both evil and we're trying to convince Ro that we're good, but you and I, before, yep, told him,
That we're good.
yes.
I'm definitely good. No doubt about it.
Hmm.
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 I mean, would someone
Or-
who's good lie about being good? No.
Yes.
Maybe. Or what if you just haven't done the quest yet?
Hmm. Who here
Or-
thinks they haven't done the quest yet?
John, have you not done the quest?
No, I haven't.
Oh. So we don't actually know if you're good or bad now.
I remain unaligned.
There's no way to know.
I remain blissfully unaware of the good and evil of the world. Right
Or
now.
since you know about it, did you already make your choice and by not going and getting it, you're automatically saying like, "Hey, I'm not going to hang out with evil." But hi.
Hey, everybody, I've decided. Hey, you know what? That's a good point. Isn't it a choice to know that there's a choice and therefore not get to the choice? Isn't that in and of itself a third choice? A third
Yes, it
option? It's like,
It's war games.
I don't
the only
have
way
a
to
good
win is not to
analogy.
play.
yeah, it's like war games. It's exactly
Yes.
like war games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
And how about a nice game of chess?
No,
Mm-mm.
no.
No, I'm not going to play. I've decided that that is the
I'm
only...
not going to play any game.
That's the only way to win. I can't choose incorrectly if I don't choose at all. I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. Wait, nope. The Last Crusade. I
There
know
you
how
go.
it should work.
Dude, wouldn't it be messed up if the knight was all like, "No, you got here. You choose."
Yeah. No, you got to pick a cup. I mean, I will admit, if I had to go through jumping on letters and kneeling, which honestly, that kneeling thing, that's a lot of BS. Can we just real quick acknowledge the BS in the room that you
Is
not
it-
only have to kneel, but you also apparently have to roll?
Yeah, because the one that like pops up in front of you, where if you're like just kneeling right there, you're still gonna get cut in half.
Yeah.
That's not-
That's jacked up.
Only the penitent and fan of rolling shall pass.
Yeah. Everybody in look, it's the lesser known part of Holy Scripture that everybody who kneeled before God also did a little roll flourish right after they met him.
The penitent man shall kneel and roll.
Yes, kneel
Yeah,
and roll,
exactly.
much like the Pandaren of old.
So
The penitent
I
circus
do
performer
have-
shall pass.
I do have a quick point to make though about that quest line is that okay, one of my characters did do the quest line. And I realize now this doesn't necessarily apply to me, but I've got to think for people who may not be fully aware of these quests and choices and how they work and stuff like that. I have to imagine what's like to be a player who took up that quest line, saw it to its conclusion, and realized, man, that kind of sucks. I feel it feels like in a way they were seemingly forced into helping the wrong team, the wrong side, as it were, and it doesn't. There's nothing in the quest line that really applies. You can and might want to stop doing this quest line at any time. When you do a lot of these quest lines in MMOs, you feel like, well, this is one part of a quest line. I should just naturally complete it and go on to the next step.
It actually does pop up and say like, "Are you really sure you want to do this? Because you can't get it back."
On removing the gift.
Yeah.
Right, but no, but what I'm talking about is the very fact. Okay, I'm just gonna say it right now. It's been out for several weeks. Story spoilers for this quest line. You go through the quest line and you are essentially helping N'Zoth. I'm talking about the point where you come to the realization that by doing all this stuff with the dagger, you have just helped N'Zoth in a huge way.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't feel so great.
Have we considered the option, though, just to play devil's advocate a little bit here, that maybe N'Zoth isn't so bad? I mean, look, I know we've got a real shaky history with the old gods, but, you know, they always say that they're the ones who gifted us with flesh. You know, they're kind of the reason we are who we are today. And let's not forget that they don't really want Azeroth to be born into a big majestic titan, which, look, if Azeroth is an egg, do I need to tell you what happens to the egg when the chicken hatches out of it? We're all on the egg.
On that one Doctor Who episode, the moon just reformed. So Azeroth's just gonna turn into just a brand new one, right?
I don't know about that, Ben. It seems like it's maybe a little questionable. I'm just saying that maybe N'Zoth saying, hey, look, you're all our children to some degree, and we'd rather you all get to keep living on this sweet little eggshell of a planet you've got, and not being thrown out into space and scattered to the wind when a shitty titan that's got a sword wound pops out and goes, hey, everybody, Azeroth's here. Boy, it's been a rough couple years. Let me tell you.
Hey, everybody, look at my sword wound. It's kind of hurt.
Here's another thing to consider. I mean, there was the whole thing with the Black Empire in like ancient Azerothian history. But if you think about just World of Warcraft, on multiple occasions, we've had to deal with stopping Titan-made plans to re-originate the entire world.
Yeah. They cause a lot of problems for us, really, when you think about it. They're the source of a lot of issues, and how many have they ultimately resolved for us?
They pulled Sargeras back to the Pantheon after he stabbed Azeroth. I mean, after we took care of Argus.
And now Illidan's fighting him.
Forever.
Oh, come on now. It's not forever. It's for about 6 to 8 years until they bring him back for another expansion.
I'm just saying that maybe these old gods are getting a bit of a bad rap.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, so, okay, depending on who you ask in Northrend, the curse of flesh or whatnot, was that really a good thing or not?
I don't know.
I mean,
Depends on how you feel about
dwarves.
being a rock dwarf guy.
You have the rock centaur people.
The
you have
Mechanomes.
The Mechanomes, which I hear that we're going to be, hanging out with more of those, or fighting more of those, or something. I don't know, whatever. So, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, if you were dating somebody, would you rather date somebody made out of rocks or somebody made out of flesh? We will judge you for your answer.
Well, let me counterpoint with, if you were hanging out and, had a best friend who liked to play Xbox or something, would you rather them be someone made of flesh or someone made out of rocks and maybe wears a Hawaiian shirt?
I think that there are merits to both. I like a world that has both options. But I think that I would prefer to have flesh beings around for fleshy things.
That's Roxas.
A little bit. What can I say?
Yeah.
I don't know about whether the old gods are necessarily, what if the old gods aren't all that bad? I mean, we've dealt with the god of death with Yogg-Saron. Maybe not all old gods are bad, but there are definitely some old gods out there that did not have the best of intentions. And N'Zoth's intentions seem like they're pretty clear, but I will go ahead and say that, okay, yes, we don't know everything about N'Zoth, but Yogg-Saron pretty much showed his hand when we fought him.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's take a step back here. And what do we know about N'Zoth? So, if I were to guess, I would say that he's the runt of the old gods. Like, maybe the freshman who gets picked on and stuff all the time.
I think
because
I thought he was the opposite. I thought he was like the big old god.
He's the weakest of the old gods, according to the lore.
Is he? Well, that's
but
sad.
Think about it. Ashara's just all like, hey, so you're an old god, but I'm going to boss you around.
Yeah, that's rough. He can make a cool fish, though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yay.
Like, if I learned anything from a Disney movie, it's anybody that's willing to utilize a fish familiar to communicate with people is probably a amicable fellow. He's got a cool city. He's got sick drum beats whenever he's around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's clearly attracted the following of a band, at least a drummer or two.
Is it the octopus drummer from Aquaman?
Ah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so N'Zoth, weakest of the old gods,
Yeah.
but has an octopus drummer.
Yeah, also, he's just been hanging out under the sea, which we understand it's better down where it's wetter.
I'll take that from you.
Okay, so we've established that it's better down there. And, you've got Yogg-Saron. He's locked in a prison. Of course he's a little upset. He's a little testy.
Yeah.
If you were on a planet and all the people running around on it were treating you like you were a big bad guy, and then you got locked in a crappy prison all day.
Well, and are also like making weapons and stuff out of your blood.
And let's be real, he was in the worst part of Ulduar. Ulduar, a lot of fun up until that part, and then it starts to become kind of a hassle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part they locked him in. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, if you really think of Cthulhu kind of had a bad rap too, because I mean, it's a giant eye.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot to look at in that room. Kind of boring.
No, there isn't.
No WoW equivalent of Ben Stein telling him how to keep it clear.
Yeah, exactly.
The walls are very nondescript.
Yeah, it's like, what am I looking at? Brick. 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 Dirt. Brick. That's it.
Yeah. He's got
Are we saying that the old gods are good and just misunderstood?
I think so. I think that's going to be probably the official stance.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we've also seen that the Naru don't necessarily have the best of intentions when they're trying to force their will upon people like Illidan.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So, if the Naru were, I mean, they were all praised as gods and everything like that. And granted, I haven't read the World of Warcraft archive books, whatever the compendiums or whatever they're called, which I can't remember at the moment. What exactly are the old gods? Like, are they actually a race of things?
The old gods are beings that were created by the Void Lords, which are supposedly the dark counterparts to the Naru.
Okay, so Illyria is totally in league with the old gods, is what you're saying.
Technically, there may be a connection there, yeah.
And it sounds to me like the old gods don't want Sylvanas around. And even though I don't always agree with it, everybody seems to agree that she's bad, which means the old gods must be good by the transitive property of Sylvanas.
And if Illyria is on the Alliance, and the Alliance is good because the Alliance never does anything bad,
That's right.
then,
So the old gods are good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, it's hard for me to fight this one.
Look, in light of overwhelming evidence, Azeroth RoundTable is going to put the eye right up above us.
I gotta do the quest on a different character now, and join the actual faction.
Yeah, look, we all make mistakes. We all hear old gods. We think it's some bad things. We think it's some dark business.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of trouble with some things. It's been a rough and tumble bit of time. But look, if you were a happy parent and your kids kept trying to kill you, calling you evil, you'd take some measures.
You know, the Dark Moon Herald had it right all along. They've been following the old gods for quite a while now. They have that eye on their logo. They know what's up.
Yeah, they tried to
You
tell
know,
us.
This is actually even worse than just, your kids being mean to you. We basically put our parents in a home.
Mm-hmm.
Or a bunch of different ones just scattered across the world.
Yeah, and then gave custody to some weird rocky light worshipping dudes that were like, "Hey man, we're gonna turn your planet into a thing. It's gonna be great."
Okay, counterpoint.
Okay.
If Illyria and the rest of the Alliance are following the old gods, because as we deemed they're all good.
Right.
How does Muradin play in now that he's like crystallized and part of Azeroth in a way?
He's bad.
But he's still an Alliance character.
Muradin's good. He's fine. He's down with the old gods, Ben. Because here's one thing. Remember that Deathwing, formerly known as Neltharion, the dragon aspect of the Earth, he was so close to the Earth that he was able to get down with the old gods, talk with them, know about what the old gods are really up to.
I remember that. I remember that.
No
party.
no one's closer to the Earth than Magni, a being now made out of diamonds. Magni's clearly on the right team. He's not playing his hand just yet.
Okay.
He is the king of diamonds. I seem to remember a whisper about a king of diamonds, but
yeah, it was something about him like actually working for the old god, something like that.
Yeah.
Almost like he might be a good guy, right?
Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah.
And
Magni's all right.
All right. So, just a quick recap again.
Mm-hmm.
Old God's good.
Yes.
Alliance totally siding with them because they're going against Sylvanas, who is obviously bad.
Villain. She's clearly the villain of the piece.
Yeah. Who the old gods have, basically pointed to and said, like, oh gosh, she's going to do all these horrible things. Oh no. So I think this is case closed.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Beings of the void and stuff like that, and there's some connection with this. They aren't able to know the absolute future, but they are able to look at possible futures. And that's one reason why they freaked about Sylvanas, because they know some possible futures of what could happen with her. Sylvanas, again, spoilers for this questline and 8.1 stuff, so skip if you need to, but Sylvanas now has in her possession the dormant dagger that Xal'atath was once in. This dagger basically was able to contain, I don't know if Xal'atath is an old god or she's something really close to it. What if Sylvanas' plan is to kill N'Zoth, capture him into the dagger, and then use the dagger to become Super Saiyan Sylvanas?
And then bring him back as an undead.
Oh, man.
Undead old gods.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's rough because they're truly the heroes of the story.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand, not fully knowing where the future is going to go, because a wise man once said, always in motion the future is.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So,
he
yeah,
would have
makes
totally supported the old gods, too.
Exactly. Okay, no, in all seriousness, though,
what are you talking about? We've been serious the whole show, Ben.
We're just
No,
presenting facts to what they do with them.
No, I meant because I just brought up Yoda. In all seriousness.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, in all seriousness, where else do you think that the story could possibly go if it's not an actual confrontation with yet another old god? And if so, do we think that this could actually be even more of a split between the Horde and Alliance, depending on like what happens with the old god itself? Or do you think that this is where we're combining efforts again?
I think that the seeds have been put in place for the next expansion, and I don't think it's going to be a direct conflict with the old gods and the void lords and stuff. But I do think it's going to be with something tied to the old gods, and that's the infinite dragonflight.
Didn't they pretty much get depowered?
You would have thought, because like Murazond was taken out in Cataclysm, right? But there's multiple timelines, multiple possible timeways and stuff like that. Murazond still exists. The Infinite Dragonflight still exists. If you read War Crimes, they were present with helping Gary escape. They are also present in the Tailoring Profession questline in BFA.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Yep, it's that questline specifically that I think kind of teases that the Infinite Dragonflight are going to be a presence again in an upcoming expansion. And the whole thing with the Infinite Dragonflight is that Murazond was well, corrupted's a bad word. Murazond wasn't corrupted by the old gods. He was shown the right way by the old gods, right? So, and the Infinite Dragonflight basically worked for the old gods. So we're going to have an expansion where we're dealing with the Infinite Dragonflight, and it's not necessarily that the Infinite Dragonflight will be the bad guys, right? Because if the Infinite Dragonflight are working with the old gods, they're the good guys, so we help them, but I don't know who we're fighting.
That seems complicated.
It does, but that sounds like Warcraft.
I don't know. They have a tendency to boil it down in a not as complicated way. They have a real tendency to take this morally gray storyline and really draw some hard divides on where your morals should ultimately lay.
I don't know. See, because here's the thing. Yeah, we defeated Murazond, but that was in a future timeline.
Yep.
So he's not gone.
Murazond hasn't been created yet. Nosdormu still exists in our timeline.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I would freaking love another Caverns of Time actual like dungeon or something. Those were always the best. Always the best. So as much as I really enjoyed the End of Time dungeon, do you think that we could see more of the actual like potential timelines that are snuffed out?
That would be cool. I kind of wish that's what the Caverns of Time became. Like I mean, I like that it shows Warcraft 3 stuff, but I feel like now that we've kind of gotten that out of our system, I love the idea of like, ooh, look at what could have happened. You know, here's a future where Garrosh stayed leader of the Horde, and here's a cool encounter around that, and
yeah,
I think that'd be fun.
I mean, that's kind of what we got with the no, what am I saying? That's not what we got. I was gonna say that's kind of what we got with the Magkar orc quest line, but not really.
Not really, but that was also very interesting. It was very interesting to see what could have happened, what could have come to be. You know, I think there's definitely people that are really kind of bummed that that's the direction that Yrel ultimately went. Because I think that was a cool character, but if she was never going to make it over to our world anyway, all right, fine. But I think dealing with those alternate realities in piecemeal ways is interesting. I think asking us to do it in Warlords of Draenor and make an interesting expansion out of it can be interesting, but I think it is better in bite-sized chunks where it's like you're going in, we're telling exactly a story based around this alternate reality, maybe give people a little bit of freedom to run around. Like that's one of the things that I do think is fun about some of the Caverns of Time stuff, like Hillsbrad, where you can go see, all these bosses when they're little kids just hanging out, and you can explore a town that now is a big undead city and now destroyed, but back when it was an actual little town and stuff like that. I think all of that is fun when you give people that opportunity to run around and play around in that world, not just do a dungeon there. But I think that's a great use of the Caverns of Time. I wish they would do more with that.
So you're more of a fan of never having a time travel expansion, but you are definitely okay with a time travel content patch.
I think this expansion ends. No, I shouldn't make that joke. I was gonna spoil the ending of Mortal Kombat 11. We'll just say I made a joke about the ending of Mortal Kombat 11. Probably
If you
wouldn't
wanna
have
be
been
spoiled
funny
on it, look it
anyway. Yeah. I do, though. I guess this is giving it away anyway. I do think maybe it's time to push the reset button a little bit. We have done the D&D thing of, we're dealing with gods now. That's our bread and butter. We're like, okay, well, time to go deal with another god. Jeez, Wednesdays, right? And that's where we've gotten as characters. Like, it already is a weird disconnect when those characters that are dealing with these deities that create worlds is like, gotta go kill some seagulls that are getting in the way of the thing I want to fight. Like, now is the time to maybe find a way to roll it back a little bit.
Okay, so I've got a wild possibility for you, because I was actually having a conversation with Cinder, and she started playing World of Warcraft and Cataclysm. She's in the Classic beta. So for her, participating in Classic, she's seeing a lot of things for the first time. And her and I were talking about, like, from her point of view, playing Classic is almost like playing a sequel of World of Warcraft, or a prequel, as it were, but she's seeing an entirely set of different things. And now, going off of what you said, that like pressing the reset button, wouldn't it be interesting if WoW Classic didn't go into the direction into Burning Crusade? Like, what if WoW Classic was the exact same story of World of Warcraft all the way up to Naxxramas, and then at the point before Lich King, something significant is different, and that causes a domino effect that creates a whole new chain of events, a new set of expansions, and WoW Classic, maybe not all the servers in WoW Classic would go into expansions. You'd keep some at Classic, but now you could have this whole thing where Classic goes into an entirely different direction for the story.
That seems insane. I like it. So now I guess spoilers for Mortal Kombat 9, but that one's a lot older, so I'm okay with that. Here's what I loved about Mortal Kombat 9, you guys. I don't know why I'm going to talk about Mortal Kombat so much tonight, but I am. So Mortal Kombat 9 ends at the end of Armageddon. All the main characters are dead, basically. It's down to Shao Kahn and Raiden. Shao Kahn has won. He's become the most powerful being in the world. He can do whatever he wants. Raiden, all he has time left to do is just whisper into his amulet that's connected through time. He must win, or he must not lose, something like that, and Shao Kahn kills him. And then you flash back to the first Mortal Kombat tournament they've just assembled. Raiden all of a sudden gets this message from his future self, saying he must win or whatever, and he realizes the timeline's in danger. He's got to change events. And so most of Mortal Kombat 1 happens as we know it, but then they start to realize something's going on, and they start changing events in 2, and now all the things doesn't happen. Like we had Robot Smoke, but in this one, Smoke doesn't get captured. Sub-Zero gets captured, and he gets turned into a robot instead. And like it starts
Sub-Zero.
Yeah, it starts veering off in weird, interesting ways where it's like similar events are happening, but not quite. And I just would love to see a part where World of Warcraft goes way off because we've all gone back in time, or we're changing the past or something, so you get the cool Arthas Lich King moment where the eyes open and he's all frozen over because he's been frozen this whole time, and there's just like Avengers shot heroes standing in front of him going, hey, as soon as he wakes up. Like, what does the world look like where we already know the foes? Garrosh, when he's just a sad orc, he's like, I'm worthless, I'm not good at anything. And everyone's
then
like,
you just walk up and go, yeah, you are, smack.
Yeah, you are bad. Your dad sucked and he was never a hero. And Thrall comes up and is like, I knew him. he was lame. And Garrosh is just like, no, but it changes everything because he doesn't go on that journey.
It makes him even worse.
Oh man, now he's a mopey Garrosh.
Instead of trying to live up to his father, he's trying to just completely surpass him, and he's even worse.
And what if the Lich King events play very similar, but at the end, what if Tyrion Fordring dies? What if Tyrion Fordring doesn't make it? Bolvar's all chained up, and who is it that picks up the crown after Arthas falls? Jaina Proudmoore.
Yeah.
And when Bolvar asks Jaina to put the crown on him, Jaina says, "Nah, I've got this."
See,
And then
they could do
you see an
cool
internal
stuff.
battle with her and Arthas inside the crown.
All right, well, these are a lot of really cool directions for the story to go, but this is my point. Is like, you know, we're dealing with a lot of gods right now, and I don't know how long that holds up as a story mechanism. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how long doing errands for gods stays exciting. I think at some point you have to roll that back, and I think there was a part of me that kind of thought that's what Battle for Azeroth would be, like going from champions of the Horde and Alliance to all of a sudden just being like, well, now you're fighting each other, you're soldiers. But this is still kind of maintained that, no, you're still kind of dealing with old gods, and you're still kind of the favored soldier of your respective armies and all of that. And so I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how you escalate this. It kind of feels like it needs to take a step back.
Let's
The
look at it
only-
this. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the only quick answer I can think of is the joke that's made that we've only seen one side of Azeroth, and that there's a whole other side of the planet that's just been entirely unexplored. The only way I can kind of see ourselves like resetting the story to a degree is just finding out what the heck is on the other side of Azeroth and how it plays into the whole thing.
Okay, so let's take a look at this at a slightly different perspective. So we're playing, original Warcraft, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3. Thrall, Jaina, Arthas, all these people are big names. They're champions, they're heroes and everything. World of Warcraft comes along. We start working our way up into, being the champions, being the big, awesome people, the ones who are taking out gods and everything like that. And we're starting to get into the problem with, and I personally don't think it's a problem because I think the story needs to move forward, but it's like the new Star Wars trilogy. So yeah, you've got new characters who are kind of picking up the mantle and taking over and everything, but you still have these old characters who they're beloved. Everybody likes them. They're great. But the story needs to progress. It needs to move forward at some point. I'm not saying kill off all the characters because
I don't know. I heard kill off all the characters.
Well, that's an old god plan, so it's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at what's happening right now. So Sarfang, old champion and everything like that. The whole story that's going on with him, he goes and grabs another old champion, Thrall, to help him in whatever his quest is, which is probably taking out Sylvanas. But it's the idea of as long as these older heroes and everything are around, okay, they're going to be there for the main plots and stuff, but we're supposed to be taking up those mantles and taking up that sort of thing. There just happens to be like, I mean, if you're a normal citizen of Azeroth, it's like, oh, look, it's Thrall, yay! There's one or two big champions instead of like thousands of champions for your faction just running around. Like, first of all, can you imagine being like just a shopkeeper in Orgrimmar and every single person who walks in is like this famous
Oh my god!
fighting
Oh my
force or
god!
something?
This is a real banner day for me. Nobody else ever comes here. I agree with you, Ben. I think the hard part that they would run into with an MMO with this, because I do think that's the natural evolution of the story, is that how do you write out these big name characters and make everybody in the world suddenly feel like they're the new main character, because ultimately then it just becomes almost a single player experience, because the game can only ever reference you. It can't really be like, oh no, we got to talk about Jersey Gal, the greatest champion that we've ever known here in the Horde.
John,
We must follow them. And Roomba.
John, it's Jersey Gal Jenkins.
Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot that they had the Jenkins title on.
Oh, jeez.
But I mean, that's...
Or Sephiroth XXX.
Yeah, that's the problem, is like you need somebody to fill in for these, and you can see them maybe thinking a little bit about it. I mean, the Anduin has had a story where he's gone from, you know, being a child into growing and leading the faction. There's been a little bit of that. There's Zappy Boy, who was real fun for a meme, but come on.
The Alliance has Talia.
Yeah, we're starting to get a little bit of that, but I don't know if anybody has really stepped up and become like, I think this lore character is amazing. That is a fresh new lore character. I'm trying to think of who I feel that way about. Lillian Voss, I kind of feel that way about to some degree.
She's pretty awesome.
I mean, Bane has really come into his own, I would say.
The biggest, at least WoW created character that was a major lore character that grew huge was Garrosh.
Yeah.
I still think that he's the best new character that we've ever gotten, just because he did have a lot of growth. He had a lot of depth until he was one-tracked into just, corrupted beggar. But
was he corrupted bad guy, or was he the first one to figure out which side?
Oh no, he was totally the first character to not be corrupted by anything except for his own like crippling doubt and like low confidence in himself.
Yeah, he just wanted us to actualize and be our best selves, which he knew only could be done through the old gods. Only through their divine grace could you become the best version of you. And look at how far he went.
Kind of like how the Alliance is right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just going back to that. But no, I like the idea of at least some of those old lore characters like actually retiring. Like, you know, I'm a big fan of Thrall. Anytime that Metzen comes in and voices Thrall, it's a good day. But I mean, he did retire like twice now, and he just keeps getting brought back in.
So here's kind of my thought on it. I think the reason why they keep on going to characters that they have developed for well over a decade now is because those are characters that we've grown up with, so to speak, playing this game. They're characters that have familiarity to us. They're characters that when we see them, when they speak, they evoke nostalgia. I would almost argue that the existence of World of Warcraft Classic now gives people a way to revisit that kind of stuff and revisit that nostalgia. And maybe in its weird way, the existence of Classic now being its thing might allow present day WoW, as it were, to not lean so heavily on those old characters. I say that after they've just brought Thrall back, so yeah, maybe.
Well, because he's going to retire again. This time we're throwing him an actual party, as opposed to just he goes.
But I do agree. I do think that for the story to thrive, for the story to continue to feel interesting, they do need to develop some new faces. And it's got to be challenging in creative development to try to find that balance between keeping people interested with the callbacks to the familiar characters while at the same time trying to grow and foster these new faces. I hope that they do a lot more with Talanji and Talia after Battle for Azeroth is done. I especially since I play mostly Horde right now, I want to see Talanji have a really important role in the next expansions to come.
Yeah, I think that's where it gets tricky, is because I think she's great this expansion, and I would say like she's on track to go, surpass what we're saying with Garrosh. And she doesn't have to turn evil to do it. She can just be relevant and awesome for the foreseeable future. We got a lot of that, with the Nightborn elves, right? That's what they are. What are they?
Nightborn.
Why can't I remember that?
It's the Nightborn.
Nightborn.
Okay, sure.
So a lot of them, seeing them pop back up, I was actually like, oh, look, they're back. That's great. I like these characters. But it wasn't insanely like, yes, they're back. And I think the chat's bringing it up. Tiber says, she could end up being another Yrel. That's also true. You had Yrel, a character that had a really good arc and a really interesting story that kind of fell by the wayside, which ultimately was pretty disappointing as a result, because here was a new character they were forging that they could have done a lot with, that they kind of just let drop. And I think the one thing they have to be careful about avoiding is what kind of can happen every expansion, which is like Lich King, Death Knights, most important class ever, most important lore ever. Look at them. They're so important. They're so pivotal. Next expansion. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they? I don't know why they matter, but whatever. Now, they have done a good job, especially in Legion, going back and kind of finding flavor and cool things for those classes to do with the class focus. But they do have a tendency to, while it's the relevant thing, Pandaria, pandas, everywhere you go, it's important, it's lore, it's the biggest deal.
They're still
as soon as that expansion is gone, yeah, they're around.
Like, I feel really bad for Demon Hunters. It's like, what did they do now? They sacrificed everything,
They said, yeah.
There's still demons to hunt. It's just that they aren't organized anymore. Seriously.
I know you're right.
They're...
It just on hearing it sounded really
demons.
Silly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're still here. We just don't really. I don't know.
We don't hang out a lot anymore.
Greg said attack on Tuesday. I said attack on Wednesday. Make the schedules work. I hope that they find a way to keep that thread relevant, because I think when they do that with Garrosh, you do see some really cool things happen and some special things happen. I mean, no villain has made me as actually angry at a character than Garrosh. When I saw that he was on his way to becoming War Chief, I was like, no, you're destroying the Horde. Little did I know, gentlemen, that they had only just begun to destroy the Horde.
True.
That was only the first warning shot of many. But it's interesting what happens when those threads actually get to play out and actually get to remain relevant and cool and interesting. And I just hope they don't drop them, because Talanji, I mean, all the troll stuff, I dug it so much this expansion, and I never thought I would.
Yeah. I agree.
So Ro, you brought up Talia Fordragon earlier, and I gotta say, after playing through the Alliance side on that, she's really cool. And for Alliance side, I really hope that she sticks around. Once you actually finish the story achievements for all of them, go through that insanely long final quest line to get Jaina free and stuff. Having her walk up and then meet Anduin and say, he's surprised, like, Fordragon. She's like, yeah, could you tell me what happened to, what was it, her brother or her father? No, it was her father. And he's like, I've got some stories to tell you. And first of all, the first one is like, oh, he's the Lich King now, is just hysterical, because it's a secret, even though there's a whole giant statue and stuff dedicated to it. But anyways, I just that's a thread that I would like to see moving forward. I'm not saying I'm not trying to ship him or something like that. It's just having her actually play out and be a good lore character on the Alliance side, I think would be an amazing thing for that faction.
Yeah. In general, I want to see. I guess one thing that I really want to see, and I've mentioned this in a few different places, is I want to see more inner conflict in the alliance. Not necessarily more conflict that tears the alliance to shreds and stuff like that. There's some horde character players would be like, oh no, let's have the alliance tear itself to shreds.
No, that'd be
But
fine.
yeah,
That's about time.
But I want to see more inner conflict there, and I think in the next expansion, or maybe even a couple of patches from now, we may see that. I mean, to a degree, you could say that Tyrande, Malfurion, and Gen disobeyed Anduin by doing what they did on Darkshore.
Yeah.
Which is stuff.
Well, and I also think, as much as I wanted it to be this expansion, as much as I wanted this to be an indictment on, war in general, they aren't in a good position to tell that internal conflict necessarily this expansion. There's little threads here, but next expansion, because let's be real, they have said that there are going to be far-reaching implications for who wins this war. That's something the devs said. They said, no, it's got to have stakes and there has to be a payoff to it. They've said that. I'm not going to hold my breath to see it.
They've also said we were going to have a dance studio, John.
I know. Look, I'm just telling you what I was told. I'm not going to necessarily expect it, but they did say there would be that. But let's be real. Next expansion, there's probably going to be an alliance and there's probably going to be a horde, which means that regardless of how far-reaching the effects are, you can see a world where the Night Elves are very unhappy with whatever the outcome ultimately is. Saying like, they tried to wipe out our people. They burned down our home. They killed so many people. Why are they still being allowed to exist? We're not okay with this. And I think you could potentially, next expansion, see some really interesting internal conflict with the Alliance. I don't know. I'm not deep enough in the Alliance lore to really ever speak for Alliance players. I don't know if they would find that interesting. I know how I felt about internal conflict for the past several years as a Horde player. And so while I might feel like, yeah, it's about time it's your turn, like at the same time, it's not always the most fun story to have to deal with. So,
Well, and also on the Horde side of things, we're going to have to watch as they get the quest where you choose what side to join and stuff like that. I mean, I haven't really touched on it too much on my Alliance playthrough, but I'm assuming that there's nothing to do. On the Alliance side, it's like, oh, there's all this Horde stuff that got added. What do we get? A really long quest line that makes you go through all the dungeons to finish the story. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep complaining about that because the Horde didn't have to do that.
The Alliance haven't had their decision point yet. I don't know if they're going to have one in this expansion just because it doesn't seem to be what the team is trying to tell story-wise. But I agree that there needs to be some parity there at some point.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And, I mean, they had, like, the internal conflict in the oh, shoot, what book was it? It wasn't War Crumbs. It was the one, like, right after Cataclysm or whatever, when, like, Ironforge turned into the Council of Three Hammers. Like, there's that whole internal conflict and everything, and then all of a sudden, oh, look, there's three people leading. They came to some sort of, actual agreement with that. That was conflict that I think would be really interesting to actually explore in-game. But, that didn't happen. Again, I'm going to go back to this every single time. I think that Gen is an incredibly interesting character who's had a lot of stuff just dumped on him. He's literally a rage monster. And I think it would be interesting to see him either go too far in something or, really try to... he loves Anduin too much to really try to take over or anything. But, completely disagreeing with Anduin and kind of going out on his own, I could see that happening.
It's going to take something really severe for something like that to happen. Like even more, Gen's already lost a son. I think it would take something along the lines of him losing another family member due to the consequences of a decision made by Anduin. Not like Anduin had a direct part in it, but Anduin makes a choice. The consequences of that lead to a situation where Gen loses either his wife or his daughter, and that makes Gen flip.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't he, maybe it's just one part in the game, but doesn't he literally have a buff that just basically says how much he hates the Horde?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like, I think that's
like
true.
it should be just constant.
I think that's true. I'm not gonna look it up, but I believe there is actually, at the very least in certain parts of the game, if you click Greymane, he has a buff cast on him that describes that he's just enraged at the Horde.
You know what? I would not be surprised because that makes sense.
So
it really does.
I mean, to me, I think that's part of why I've been so confused with this story is he was this like element that I felt like, just like, what's he gonna do? Maybe he kills Sourfang. Like,
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
like that's a pretty good swerve. We keep talking about waiting for the swerve this expansion. I do anyway, because you know, we're on such similar territory to what we've done before. Maybe that's the swerve. They keep setting up Sourfang's going to do this, Sourfang's going to do that. And maybe at some point just the anger and the frustration gets the better of Gen, and he just suddenly develops a real Jaina outlook on things where it's like an orc is an orc and they're all bad, and you know, he ends up ruining the best hope for unifying the Horde and the Alliance in that way. And that could be potentially interesting to explore as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily even have to be Saurfang. It could even be Bane, which I almost think would have an even greater impact because Bane and Anduin are arguably fairly close too.
Yeah, but I don't really foresee that as uniting the Horde. We'd still have that splinter, that issue. You know, if he did go against Saurfang, then all the people who were following Saurfang, Sylvanas is all, look, see?
Told you they hate you. Told you they'll do anything.
Which is what happened with the undead.
Told you so.
Yeah. I mean, see, the big problem is, well, it's not even a problem, but the thing is that because we've gone so far in this expansion and it's been so similar to other paths that the swerve could just be it just continues on like the other expansion, which that would be horrible. Well, you know what? I can't say that because it hasn't finished. Maybe it would actually tie up really nice. Who knows? But just seeing interesting storytelling with, you know, character depth and choices that are made in character is, I think, what all of us really are aiming for. And with as big a cast of characters as we're dealing with on both the Horde and the Alliance side, it's really hard to focus in on the key characters to really get some of that explosive conflict that's been going on.
Do we need more? I mean, we got plenty of it at the launch and lead up to Battle for Azeroth of like these other sources of lore, these other forms of media, you know, the whole Warbringers video cinematics, and a couple extra novellas in the collector's edition, some lead up stories, comics, all that stuff. All of that is pretty much absent right now, and all the story that we're getting is just within the game. Some people would say that's a good thing. Other people, like myself, I kind of like to see a little more. Now, we did get the Safe Haven cinematic not too long ago. I'm not ignoring that, but I wouldn't mind seeing a short story here or there that kind of adds a little bit more to the story, tells me while all this stuff is going on, what is actually going on in Anduin's head right now. Because he's been relatively absent from the story.
I think for me, part of the problem is, and Ro, I know you love this comparison.
Okay.
We've made this comparison before, is that
Mm.
World of Warcraft has become wrestling. And
Yes.
part of the problem is that the beginning of the expansion is like the Royal Rumble, and the end of the expansion is WrestleMania. But you got a lot of these pay-per-views in between that like to pretend that they're relevant to the whole thing. They're not. It's an illusion. It's not ever really that relevant unless...
Does that make 8.2 Fastlane?
Yeah, pretty much. 8.2
Yeah.
is Fastlane. We all think it's going to be some big thing. And yes, there's going to be some big lore characters, and they'll card out Brock Lesnar or something, and people go, they did it. They got somebody big to show up. Like, but at the end of the day, we're still working our way to the same point as before. It was a little roadblock on the map. And I think... Safe Haven is kind of cool because it doesn't have anything to do with this Ashara stuff, which is kind of where my thought would be is I'd love to see more of that content, but I feel like that content would always be used to hype up whatever patch we're working towards, as opposed to progressing the overall narrative, which Safe Haven did not do. So it's actually an exception to what I think the rule would typically be. But the problem is that's one little, very cool, but that's one little cinematic in something that's going to take, over the grand scheme of things, many months to resolve. I'm so excited for whatever the swerve will be, if and when it happens. But the part of the problem is that because it's a video game and not like a TV show or a movie, it's such a long wait that like waiting for this swerve has been agonizing. And I get where they want to say, like, okay, let's draw our parallels, but it takes so long to do. So I've just found myself still desperately just waiting for the swerve to happen, just so I can know, okay, this is how we're going to divert and go in a different direction.
And this is why you have become addicted to data mining.
Yes, it is. I 100%, yes.
So... with that being said and that being thought, do you think that once the swerve gets here, it'll ever live up to your expectations? Like, I don't know, maybe the 8th season of a show you've been watching for a long time? Or do you think you'll just be happy with whatever comes out?
I don't know. So it's funny. World of Warcraft is one of the few properties in the world that I still find myself getting real, like, not to throw this term around flippantly, but like triggered by events that happen. Like, it's one of those things. Ben, you and I talked about this a long time ago. Star Wars decided to throw out a whole bunch of canon stuff. As we went into a world that was going to have additional sequels and stuff like that. A lot of stories that we had grown up with and read and experienced and been way into got thrown out and said, yeah, you've read them, the stories, but they, canonically speaking, didn't happen. And for you, that was initially a very, very hard thing. You were very upset about that.
Yeah, I was.
And for some reason, I broke at that moment. They did that, and that was the breaking point for me. And I went, okay. And all of a sudden, I got real zen about the whole thing, and I was like, man, those stories were great. I still had a real fun time with that. I can't wait to hear new stories. That's going to be so exciting. And I just suddenly became like the dude about Star Wars lore, where it was just like, all right, man, that's crazy. And they were like, we're going to do this. We're going to kill everybody. I'm like, cool, do it. Let's see where this goes. And I just suddenly became real mellow about it. And all of a sudden that started hitting in a lot of aspects of my life, where a lot of things that I thought were very important and very much like sacred to me that you shouldn't mess with and you shouldn't alter, I was just like, I don't care. Just tell me a new story. That's cool. And World of Warcraft has been one of those things that still to this day, I've had a very hard time just tolerating casual changes or what I feel like is the story going in a direction I don't want. So when, say, the 8th season of a show you're really invested in finally goes in a direction that, might surprise you or something like that, I was like, cool, man. Yeah, saw that coming, but, I can see why people are upset. Maybe you should wait till the story's over before you name your kid after a character. Anyway, let's keep going. And I was real casual about it overall. But World of Warcraft is not that for me. And honestly, that was the hardest part for me with this show. Wasn't that I had a hard time with the show, but it was seeing all these people react in a way and going, guys, don't worry about it. But then seeing how I'm reacting to stuff in World of Warcraft and going, oh shit, I'm reacting in exactly the same way about this other thing over here. And I don't know why it has always kind of maintained that thing of like, I'm very, very overly protective about it and very precious about how I think that story needs to go and about where the characters are going to be. And I'm like, don't mess with it. It's important. That's just all of a sudden how that piece of media is to me. So yes, to answer your question, Ben, the swerve, I think it could live up to expectations. But part of me says, like, yeah, man, they can do whatever, just as long as it swerves. I need the swerve. The swerve can't be that it's the same story. That's going to bother me. But as long as it swerves, it's all cool. But I don't know if that's actually true as I say it.
Yeah.
This is the 8th season of World of Warcraft.
That's true. First of all, I would like to just say that I'm totally zen on new Star Wars stuff. Compared to getting rid of canon and stuff, I've hit that point years ago. This is when it initially happened that I had this issue to the point where like I'm rereading the original Zon trilogy now. I'm like, yeah, this is good stuff. When it's totally not anything that happened in canon, I'm like, yeah, it's still good.
What are your thoughts on Luke?
I still think it's the dumbest thing. But it's still a good story.
Isn't your favorite character Luke?
That's what, the 18th clone?
I miss Mara Jade.
Yeah.
I do miss Mara Jade. Yeah. But hey, I read cool stories with Mara Jade. Yeah. She's still there in my head. I also read a story where she died that deeply upset me, and I still get a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach when I think about it. But
yeah, how some of the stuff was handled in that 9-book series, it saddens me at this point because there was such good storytelling in there, and then not.
And then there were stories about bugs. Anyway, we're not here to put creators on blast. They told the story they wanted to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to take a moment to ask Ben about Luke.
or is it Luke?
Luke. Okay, should we explain the joke for people who haven't read the Timothy Zahn
probably
books?
Should.
They're in the Timothy Zahn books, which are sequels to the original Star Wars
Spoilers
trilogy.
for a book that's been out for like 30 years.
Yeah, there is a clone of Luke Skywalker in that book, and he's the clone because they spell his name Luuke.
Yeah, based off of another clone, which it's Jorus. Jorus is the normal one, but the clone is Joruus.
Nobody would know if I was a clone. No U's in this name.
Same here.
Or would I be Joan? I would just add.
No, you'd be June. Blame June.
June. It's always June.
And you would be Ben.
As in has been. And this has been Azeroth RoundTable. Ro, thank you very much for joining us on this episode. It was a ton of fun following the correct path, as well as, delving into some different plot threads in the Caverns of Time.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure as always, man.
Yeah. Until next time we have you on, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me and the eye that's not above my head on Twitter at Rowow. That's RHOWOW. I also do a few other podcasts, Realm Maintenance, which is a podcast about all Blizzard podcasts, Hearth Casual, if you are into Hearthstone, and a little Dungeons and Dragons podcast called +5 to Hit.
It's a good show.
Yeah, it's a very good show, and I'm going to be doing a guest DM stint for an episode or two, and we're going to have one Ben Bumhofer with us for that, so I'm pretty excited about that.
What?
Ben's going to get to play.
I get to play?
He almost never gets to play.
No, but that's okay. John,
Yes, Ben.
as someone who gets to play Dungeons and Dragons a whole bunch,
Mm-hmm.
where can people find you?
First, may the old gods guide your path.
And
Ben?
you.
Ro, may the
That-
old gods guide your
thanks.
path. Blessings be upon all of us here today. If you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. What was that face, Ben?
Oh, no, nothing.
They're the true heroes. It's fine.
Okay.
Look, if you're gonna play D&D, Ben, you better be ready to praise some fake gods, because that's the way it goes.
True. Okay, true.
Just, hope you get a good one. I have to pretend I'm way into a bird that's also a fish. Anyway,
Fishbird.
hey, follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. I'll let you know where I am, what I'm doing. But there are a couple places where you can bet you'd find me, except for next week. Typically, on an average week, you would find me on Core.
Core.
It's a video game show, and that's going to be on Wednesday nights, part of the Frog Pants Network. You can find out more about that at heroesforyou.com. Will not be on the show next week, but we'll be returning the following week. Also, you typically find me here on Friday doing Azeroth Roundtable. We're not sure what's going to happen next week. As it turns out, it's a really bad week for me, where I am going to be off most of my shows, and it just so happens to be a really bad week for Ben too. So we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, if we are doing anything, it would be Thursday night, but it really depends on my work schedule and also the fact that I'm going to be out of town Friday night.
How crazy would it be, Ben, if we just got other people to do the show for us?
That's every other podcast that there is.
I know, but what if we just made them do work for us and then we put it up as our own? Anyway, this was probably an awkward idea that I came up with in the middle of the show.
Yeah, we're not going to do
the equivalent of stealing somebody's homework. But it'd be good.
that.
I mean, I could just give you guys the next episode of Rolling Restart with Cinder and I, and we can edit it. You can call it Azeroth Roundtable. It's fine.
We're not going to do that.
Ro does his intro. He gets to the part where he names the show, and it just changes from his like,
Azeroth Roundtable.
we're doing it in Azeroth
Roundtable.
So I'm not going to be on either of those shows. However, I do also do a D&D show called There Will Be Dungeons. That's every Saturday. I am not missing that, as it turns out. So I will be there, and that will be continuing as planned both tomorrow and the following Saturday, and as many Saturdays as we can get away with doing that. Find out more about that at therewillbedungeons.com.
So basically what you're saying is that that's your favorite show.
It's the show that can still work with the schedule I have.
Yeah, I know. Nothing wrong with that.
It's the show where I can justify being away from duties and responsibilities on a Saturday for 3 hours when I would have been otherwise home alone.
Yes.
So, yeah. So anyway, week off. You all don't have to hear from me. But then I'll be back to all those shows. Ben, where can people find you?
Best place to find me, actually, tomorrow, Saturday, June 1st, is going to be at Snakes and Lattes in Tempe. Our friend Major Death is actually going to be hosting a Hearthstone fireside gathering. Go ahead and just do a look up for Snakes and Lattes. We're going to be there between 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. He's going to be talking about Hearthstone, playing people, everything like that. I'm going to be there. Nevermore's going to be there. A bunch of awesome other people are going to be there. Of course, Major Death is going to be there since he's hosting it and stuff. I'm really excited because that place is awesome. Anyway, John, I got to say, those mini corn dogs, they're the bomb.
I trust you. I wish I could be there. I am going to be doing a show around that time.
I know.
But I am super into the Dalaran heist stuff for Hearthstone, so I'm actually playing a shitload of Hearthstone at the moment. And I happen to think Mage of Death is awesome, and I think you all should go out and check that out if you're in the Arizona area and can do so.
Exactly. But other than that, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Ben Bumhofer. I almost said the old one. I tweet stuff there. I tweet stuff like, when I'm doing this show or when episodes of Boxford are up. It's
Whoa.
boxfordshow.com. Best place to find that right now. And still working on something else that's coming in the future. Just saw some artwork that is really awesome, like freaking amazingly awesome. I'm just gonna toss that out there. That's gonna be coming sometime down the pipeline. We're working on some stuff. But this show, Azeroth RoundTable, as John said, not entirely sure what's going on next week. Keep an eye on our Twitter, which is at AzerothRT. We'll let you know what's going on. Other than that, every episode that we ever record and post and broadcast and all that stuff, you can find that on AzerothRoundTable.com, as well as on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, whatever it's called. So check us out there. If you like this episode, there are 321 other episodes that are either as good, better, or worse than this. I really couldn't tell you.
We really cover the gamut there.
Yeah, pretty much. There's other episodes as well.
What I like about what you just said is that while I'm sad you have basically confirmed this is not our best episode, but you also confirmed it wasn't our worst. So, good on us.
Well, honestly, John, as being part of this show, I feel I cannot judge. This might actually be the best episode we've ever done, but I can't judge that.
Well, my concern, Ben, is that also means you can't judge that this was not the worst episode we've ever done.
Oh no, I know which episode is. I know which episode is the worst episode we've ever done.
I know which one's the worst too.
Oddly enough, I think I know which episode that is too.
Yeah, it's between two, but
yeah.
Anyways, so check out all of our episodes and see which one you think I'm thinking of. But
we're gonna get so many guesses about which episode's our worst episode. It's gonna be great.
Whoever sends in the list of 321 other episodes, please don't. Please don't. Anyways, if you have any questions, comments, want to tell us what is the dealio, you can send those emails to AzerothRoundTable@gmail.com. And of course, we do stream live almost every single week. Remember what we said about next week on twitch.tv/AzerothRT at 8 p.m. Pacific during daylight savings time.
What are you doing with this outro? You've gone into uncharted waters and confused
I'm just trying to give the people the information. Just like if you do go to AzerothRoundTable.com, you can find a link to our Discord.
But on
server.
like the least relevant time. Like next week is the one week where knowing this wouldn't help them in any way, shape, or form, and it's the time you were you know what? I'm gonna sail the ship into the bay. We just need to go there.
But the thing is I need to get into the whole routine of talking about us streaming on Fridays because I haven't for like 320 episodes. Okay. So, and the chat room's always awesome, and I like having them there. And if people want to join us live, we appreciate that. We enjoy it. It's pretty awesome.
It's true.
Yeah.
No matter what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Talk about your balls for all I care.
No, let's not do that.
Okay, probably don't. That did happen. Let me just be clear. I'm referencing a thing that happened tonight and not just making that up out of nowhere. Just want to put that out there. Chat room, we appreciate you. Bunch of weirdies. Hey, everybody. This show is brought to you not just by sudden post-show ball talk, but by you, the patrons, who go to patreon.com/AzerothRT and help us out. Throw a little money our way. Help us pay for more mods for the chat room. And, whatever else might need to be done.
Which I gotta say, big shout out to Bim. Thank you.
Oh, did they get the person?
Yeah.
Oh, did they? No, they're still in there. They didn't get kicked.
I thought I messed
I think
back.
they just...
I don't know how to send DMs on Twitch.
I think they just got tired. They weren't getting the reaction they wanted, and they moved on.
Oh.
Well, you have... Look, I appreciate Bim. I feel Bim made the right decision. a little light ball talk. We have to wait and at least see if it's just traffic from lagging balls heading over. Who knows what those chuckleheads are sending our direction. We have to give them an initial benefit of the doubt and see where it goes. And it never went to a place so dark that we had to go, oh, nope, break out the banhammer. But it was enough. We noticed. We saw you. We gave you a shout out on the show. Really doing a lot to, stop this kind of behavior in the future.
No, because again, Bim did an awesome job, took care of it. Did the right thing.
Patreon.com/AzerothRT. Quality shows, quality ads. Coming at you right now. Every episode we like to give a shout out to the Murloc Club. That's Brandon O, Caleb M, Jesse O, Bersh Cobber, Haster, Sash, Gary W, and Aaron. Thank you for being part of the Murloc Club. Yep, that's right. And if you want to join them or any level of patronage, you can go to patreon.com/AzerothRT.
That's right.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody who does that, who joins us on this show, like Ro did this week. And for the chat room, you guys are great. Until next time, which, again, we're not sure when that is, be good to each other. And all hail the old gods. No, wait.
No, do.
Oh, darn. I cut you out right as I got the from you saying no, do.
No!
Luke!
No, Luke! That's where we ended the video recording right there.
Oh, nice. Speaking of, John, since tomorrow is June 1st, do you have everything updated video-wise?
I did it all last night.
Okay, thank you.
So am I right on one of the two?
Thank you, stream, for joining us. We're gonna cut out the stream.
I didn't realize we're still streaming.
We're still streaming, just the recording.
Okay.
Way to go, Ro. You had to know. You couldn't just rest easy. We're still streaming, by the way, Ro, before you start trying to throw people's episodes under the bus.
But besides, I actually do have to go back to work.
I was part of a lot of bad episodes. Okay?
I'm glad I didn't click this because it could have even potentially displayed on the screen, Ro. Anyway,
Yeah.
We're gonna call it there, chat. Ro's got to go talk some shit about people, and we'll catch you whenever we're back. Bye, everybody.
They were both solo episodes.